Hello, I really look forward to these recordings, and here we are for yet another one. So, what's on my mind today is what's your relationship to change? Yeah. Recently, I had an experience with with school, my son's school, and they changed the system, and I realized I had trouble like adjusting, which is not new. Like I've had a bit of resistance to change, and I'm aware of that. However, this I think came off a bit different because I actually engaged in conversation, both with the school, with individuals, with friends around it. And a few things stood out to me that I'd like to share in this video. Yeah. So first of all, change is something we just can't run away from. However, as human beings, we respond differently to change. And I think it's really good to acknowledge that both with ourselves and with the people that we lead, with the people that we interact with the people that we're in relationship with. Because not everybody responds to change the same way, right? Now, personally, growing up, I grew up in a family that was polygamous, and so basically, I had so many mothers. I had different mothers, and the thing is, they don't all be there at the same time, right? Like you don't just grow up and then you're born, you're in the family, and there are one, two, three, four mothers. No, like they each come at different seasons. In this case, they each came in different seasons, in different periods of my life. And one of the things I remember experiencing was uncertainty for when I returned home, like back from boarding school, high school, and just not knowing what I will find home like the situation I'll find home, or who I'll find home, or stuff like that. Like, of course, they didn't communicate to us at school, like, hey, what's up? Guess what? Somebody else is coming, or guess what? This is happening at home and stuff. So we basically just go home, find a different environment, and it's home. So you learn to cope, you learn to deal with it. So, but from an early age, I remember, I think that's when the seeds of resistance to change, of uncertainty, started to be sowed because of a bit of uh, unstableness, right? In the sense that, like, I remember some holidays I'd go home and find word spread about me, like Evelyn is this, Evelyn did this, and a lot of them were lies. And then I'd have, a bit of animosity from my dad because he had this about me, and then this. So basically, the environment was just, yeah. And so growing up also later in my adult life, learning to trust people and just to trust change and trying out new things. I also encountered people that were just untrustworthy. For example, I got into a business deal with somebody who was a friend, and later they betrayed me. Like, so I was like, how? Like, how do I have somebody give me the face of a friend, the face of I'm with you, we're on the same page, we're walking in the same direction, and then just a few months later, with no warning, with no specific thing happening, the person just turns around. And so dealing with different betrayals and just circumstances changing suddenly, one minute somebody is this way, the other minute the person is this way, all just contributed to my resistance to change. And it basically formed my programming and my perception to change. So in my mind, change cannot be trusted, right? Change is not good because change is uncertain. Change creates uncertainty, and therefore I find that I usually have to adjust when I deal with change. I take some time to adjust, not with all things. Like there's some things that I'll just, jump in immediately and, let's go do this and stuff. But there are certain things I'll take a while to adjust to. And that is simply how I've understood, how I've learned that my mind works, that it likes to take a while to adjust to change. So, the other thing about this, I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and he's like, you're into personal development, you're even a coach. How is this difficult for you to handle? Like, you should just be the one saying, guys, please, this has happened, jump on board and stuff. And I'm like, you misunderstand a bit. Just because I'm a coach and I'm into personal development doesn't mean I support everything that happens. Doesn't mean my programming is therefore 100% or ideal, as we would call it. But what it means is that I'm aware of what is going on in my internal programming. I'm aware of what is going on in my mind. I'm aware of how I relate to certain things. So what I need you to understand also is that self-awareness, just because you're aware of something, doesn't mean the behavior changes. Self-awareness is simply opens your eyes up to this particular situation or programming or just this particular thing. It opens your eyes to it so that you're able to deal with it, so that you're able to understand yourself better and able to control the situation. One of the things our minds likes to do is to be in control. And the best way to be in control is to understand something. What you don't understand, you cannot control, because then it keeps changing, because then it can't be trusted. So what the mind doesn't understand, it cannot control, and therefore it's disruptive. Because how do I deal with this? I have to take a while to learn this, to understand it, and then I can control it. So my advice to especially leaders or people who manage other people or deal with people, even in relationships, is just to try and understand your partners or your people's or your team's ways of dealing with things. And it's not like you have to be God and know everyone and what, but basically just have in mind, and if it's in a relationship, of course you take time to understand your partner or to understand the person you're in relationship with, whether it's a sibling, a friend, a spouse. You take time to understand what their programming is, how they relate to things, what their internal perceptions of things are. But if you're working with a team, like with a group of people, it's important to just keep in mind the fact that people are wired differently and people deal with change differently. So for example, if you were introducing a new system into an environment or into the workplace, one of the best ways to get people on board is to communicate, especially in the early stages. Like, just give them a heads up, or this is coming up, or this. I mean, we look at social media, Instagram, for instance. Like, every time they're introducing something, they come up and speak to us. So this is coming, or these are the new changes. What do you think about it? So what it does basically is tell people, number one, I see you. I see you. Like, I'm not doing this thing alone. I'm not just pushing things. I'm not just imposing things on it. I see you. And number two is I value you. I value you. I value your opinion. And I value the fact that you're part of this system. You're part of this ecosystem. You're part of this team and of this relationship as well. And I value you. And the other thing is, it communicates is I care about you. Because what happens when we care about people, number one, we care about what they have to say, their opinions. And also number two, we care enough to get them on board. We care that they support us in what we do. So I value you, I see you, I value you, I care about you. right, is what it communicates to people. And what happens is that onboarding it, I spoke about change management with a few friends. And one of the things I said is change management requires a systematic, basically, introduction of the change, a structured approach. Like, don't just impose, but you could maybe test it with a few people, maybe bring people, let people know on board, and then slowly by slowly just test it, see how it works, either alongside the old system and you're working with two and testing and getting feedback and stuff, or just share it with people for a while, like have a couple of people on board that you test it with over time, and just in a structural way, in a systematic way, progressively introduce the change to people. Otherwise, what happens is that we face resistance with the change. You impose something, you introduce something, a new thing, people like, sure. And I know that people are hard to deal with. I mean, as human beings, we are hard enough to deal with as we are. And then introduce something different, something disruptive to us. It's already like, geez, like now I have to deal with resistance. Yeah, so what is your relationship to change individually? Do you just jump at change? Are you excited for it when it comes? Are you resistant to it when it comes? Are you like me, who takes a while to adjust to things because I have to let my mind know that this is not an adversary, this is not something against us, this is something friendly? What is your relationship to change? Yeah. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.